Dana Woods and June Guerry are enjoying their girls' night out.
The two friends are out for a late-night bite before having a sleepover at Dana's house.
Someone they know asks for a favor, and they agree to give him a ride.
But when helpful gesture turns to horrifying nightmare, it will take 3 days for frantic searchers to find the bodies.
To solve the case, investigators must follow the clues to find the killer, hiding in plain sight. August 27, 2012. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. In the sleepy town of Moncks Corner, South Carolina, Dana Woods did not return from a night out with her friend. Her parents were concerned.
Dana and her friend June Guerry went out for a late-night meal and never came home. Now they aren't answering their cell phones. Dana's mother, Jennifer, last heard from her daughter just before midnight. The girls said they were planning to give a friend a ride and then come home right after.
Dana's parents drive around looking for the girls for 3 hours, but they can't find Dana's car anywhere. Jennifer is seriously worried now, so she calls the police to report them missing. The police tell the worried mom it's probably nothing. The girls haven't been missing long. They ask her if she's checked with their friend's parents.
They feel it's too early to panic. Give them a little more time, they'll probably show up.
Around 6:30 a.m., Jennifer calls June's mother, Linda, who's spending the night looking after June's daughter.
When Linda hears that June is missing, she too becomes very concerned. It's not normal for June to not call home and check in on her baby, Emma.
June's father, Charles Britt, and his son-in-law also join in the search, but there's no sign of either girl or Dana's car.
Then around dawn, just as they're about to give up, Charles sees Dana's car go by, but he notices a terrifying detail. Dana isn't driving. There's no sign of the girls inside, and the driver is a man. Charles turns around and chases after Dana's car, but the other driver runs a red light and gets away.
The two families return to the police station and tell them about this strange man they saw driving Dana's car. With this new information, they pay more attention to their concerns.
Patrol cars in Berkeley County are told to keep an eye out for Dana's vehicle, and they want to know more about the young women that seem to have disappeared into thin air.
18-year-old Dana Woods and 22-year-old June Guerry both grew up in Moncks Corner, South Carolina.
It's a small place where everyone seems to know everyone else's business. Dana is still in school and works part-time at a pizza chain. She's saving money to go to college to become a paralegal. Dana's close friend, June Guerry, is a young single mother with a 2-year-old daughter. She works at a local department store. These are two responsible, hardworking young women. Nothing suggests they would stay out all night without giving their parents some notice about where they are.
Police need to know more about the man that Charles saw driving Dana's missing car.
Detectives start to expand their search for Dana and June. They create a contact list of boyfriends, friends, classmates, co-workers to see if anyone has seen them. They trace the girls' cell phone activity from the night before, who they called, and where they were located when the calls were made.
3 days later, police will get an ominous break. The missing persons case takes a dark turn when Dana's car is discovered abandoned and torched. But everyone still wants to know what happened to the girls. When two young women, Dana Woods and June Guerry, fail to come home after an evening out, as their families search, they make a shocking discovery. June's father sees Dana's car, with a strange man driving it. They try to follow it, but lose sight when it runs a red light. And their daughters are not in the car.
The next day, police contact Dana and June's friends and co-workers. They're hoping to learn something about where the missing women might be. Dana's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Chris Feathers, was with the girls for a while the night before.
They call him into the station for questioning, and Feathers tells them he was with Dana that night until about 9:30 p.m. And then he left to hang out with friends until about 2 a.m. Feathers says he hasn't since he left them. Detectives go through cell phone reports for the girls. They see a ping on Dana's phone for a frontage road on the other side of Berkeley County. This means Dana's phone was miles away from where she was supposed to be on the night she went missing.
Police expand their search area by a range of 20 miles, but still, there's no sign of the missing women or of Dana's car. The break they thought they had came up empty, and there are no other leads.
For now, these two young women have simply vanished into thin air.
Interviews with Dana and June's friends still leave police with little idea as to where they might have gone.
A few days after Dana and June go missing, police get a call from a man who was out fishing when he came across a burned-out car on the side of the road.
Investigators check the vehicle and confirm their suspicions. It's Dana Wood's car, and now it's a crime scene. They then search the area around the car, and that's when they make a startling discovery. They find Dana.
Dana Woods is lying on the ground, not far from the car. It appears she was killed by a shot to the back of her head.
Dana's body had been covered in branches, and some of her clothing had been tossed in the bushes nearby.
The missing persons case has sadly turned into a homicide investigation, but June Guerry is still missing. June and Dana were last seen together the night they went missing, and a strange man was last seen driving Dana's car without the women inside. This is now an urgent situation for police. One woman has been murdered, and a second one is still nowhere to be found.
The next day, police get a report from a man who was visiting a cemetery only a mile from June Guerry's home. He tells them he noticed a bright piece of clothing in the hedge line. When he went to have a closer look, he saw a body.
June Guerry's body is found lying at the bottom of a 10-foot deep dirt pit. Like Dana, she also died from a gunshot to the back of her head.
It appears that June was murdered elsewhere, and then her body was hidden in the pit.
When police look at the area around Dana's burned-out car, they find blood spatter evidence, which suggests two people were killed there. This means that although June and Dana were both killed together, for some reason, Dana's body was moved elsewhere.
From the evidence at the scene, detectives are now looking at a murder case involving a deliberate, execution-style killing of two young women. They bring in all their friends and acquaintances for a new round of questioning, hoping to learn more about their movements in the hours before the killings.
At this point, the only thing police know is that Dana and June were planning to give a ride to a friend before heading home on the night they went missing.
The authorities now believe that friend is a young man named Arthur Chavez. They were informed that Chavez had a crush on June, but that she had no particular interest in him. In fact, her friends say Chavez's attention made June feel uncomfortable, and the text messages left on her phone back that up.
Chavez admits he was keen on June Guerry, but he gives police an alibi for the night, saying that he was with his cousin, Caleb Matlock, when the girls disappeared. Detectives also question Rodney Waits, a local volunteer firefighter.
June's parents say Waits wanted to date their daughter, but Waits also appears to have an alibi. He says he was sleeping at the fire station on the night in question.
It seems that Dana and June knew a number of young men who were interested in them. But why would anyone want to shoot them both? Perhaps the young women had something that someone was willing to kill for. The murder investigation stalls until a call comes in from someone who reveals details of the crime that were never made public. Detectives in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, are working to solve the execution-style murders of two young women, Dana Woods and June Guerry, when a call comes into the station. A clerk at a local gas station reports that the boyfriend of a coworker was talking about the murders, and he seemed to know more details about the killings than police made public.
The coworker's boyfriend is Caleb Matlock. Anytime police are investigating a crime and they hear about someone that knows a lot more than they should, they need to know why. When police show up to ask the coworker about her boyfriend, they see Caleb Matlock running out the back door. They chase after him and manage to catch him. And when they search his backpack, they find a handgun.
Matlock is brought to the police station for further questioning.
23-year-old Caleb Matlock grew up with June and even dated her for a short while.
Under pressure, Matlock makes a stark admission. He was there when the girls were murdered. He claims he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, but he refuses to give the police the name of the murderer.
When police initially asked Arthur Chavis where he was the night of the murders, he said he was with Caleb Matlock. So now they really want to hear what Chavis has to say.
At first, Chavis is uncooperative, but then he breaks down and confesses that Matlock murdered the girls because he wanted to steal June Guerry's car. Chavis swears he had no idea Matlock was going to kill June and Dana. After hearing from Chavis, Matlock, and Matlock's girlfriend, detectives have enough details to piece together the events of the fateful night.
Matlock and Chavis run into June and Dana at a local burger joint. They convince June to give them a ride, and they trick the girls into taking them to a remote spot in the woods where Chavis says he lost his wallet. As they drive to the woods, Matlock quietly confides to Chavis that he's going to shoot them when they get there.
They wanted a car to commit a second crime. So Matlock figured if they killed the women and took their car, they would have a getaway car that no one would connect to them.
When they get to the place where Chavis says he lost his wallet, Matlock pulls out a 9mm pistol and orders them deep into the woods.
There's been plenty of speculation about why Matlock decided to kill the young women, rather than simply steal a random car off the street. Did Matlock make the decision in the moment? Or did he plan the murders before he got in June's car? Whatever the case, it doesn't change what he did next.
It was an exceptionally cruel and senseless murder. The men concealed Dana's body with branches. Then, they dragged June's body from the forest, put her in the trunk of Dana's car, and drive off.
Maybe they thought that separating the bodies would make it more difficult for police to piece together what happened.
They drive June's body to another wooded area closer to her house. As they drag June's body, a piece of her clothing gets ripped off and left on a bush. And then they leave her in a pit in the woods.
It's at this point when Charles Britt spots Dana's car being driven by a strange man and chases them. But Matlock runs a red light and speeds off.
But because they've been spotted, they abandon the plan to use Dana's car in another robbery. Instead, they drive the car back to the murder site and torch the car in hopes of eliminating all evidence.
They thought if the car went up in flames, so would the cops' chances of finding them. They actually thought they could destroy the evidence of their crime.
The evidence against Caleb Matlock appears to be overwhelming, but Arthur Chavez decides to claim he knew nothing about Matlock's plans and makes a bold bid at trial. In August 2014, the trial of 25-year-old Caleb Matlock of Somerville begins. Charges include 2 counts of premeditated murder, 2 counts of possession of a firearm during the commission of a violent crime, armed robbery, and third-degree arson.
Matlock surprises the court by agreeing to plead guilty to all of the counts against him. Matlock tells the court he's pleading guilty to spare the victims' families the pain of sitting through a trial. He says he hopes the gesture will bring some closure. In an emotional apology, Matlock says he will have to live with what he did for the rest of his life.
The truth is, this eats me up. It really does. I said so since the beginning, I deserve to be punished.
It's little comfort to the families of Dana and June. They tell the court that they refuse to accept Matlock's apology, that it won't bring their loved ones back.
The judge sentences Matlock to 5 years in prison for each possession charge, 15 years for arson, 30 years for armed robbery, and 55 years for each murder charge.
The judge angers the families when he chooses to make the sentences concurrent, which means there's a chance that when he serves his 55 years, Matlock may go free one day. They tell Matlock how he damaged their lives, and they accuse him of being a coward for hiding from them behind his attorney.
Unlike Matlock, Arthur Chavez tries to fight the charges against him.
At the preliminary hearing, his lawyer says there's no evidence connecting Chavez to the murders. He says Chavez had no knowledge of what Matlock had planned and did not join in.
When his attorney fails to have charges dropped in order to avoid trial, Chavez agrees to plead guilty to manslaughter and armed robbery. He says nothing in court and never apologizes to the family. In the end, the most time Caleb Matlock will spend is 55 years in jail. And for his role, Arthur Chavez will spend 25 years behind bars.
Both sentences are not enough for the victims' devastated families. They believe both criminals should have been given life in prison without possibility of parole. Dana's mother creates an online petition asking legislators to toughen minimum punishments for murder convictions.
Since he has been incarcerated, Matlock has not been a model prisoner. He's been routinely disciplined for various minor offenses and spent extended periods of time in isolation. If there's any satisfaction for the family in this, it's the knowledge that Caleb Matlock has had a hard time in prison.